Hello guys, this is the Betamax Man, and this is a Sony SL-HF550, and we're gonna just, in this video, we're just gonna see what's wrong with this thing, and we're gonna repair it in another video. It does have a tape stuck inside. The seller said that there's a tape stuck inside and it won't eject. So I got this machine. I got it like before I had to go to work, and I work swing shift, so I work from 3 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. and it showed up on my porch. So it was delivered, and then when I got home, I took it out of the box, cleaned it with some Lysol, and I always clean and disinfect my stuff. Anything I get in the mail, I usually will use Lysol to disinfect it and also clean it. And I do have Novus, which will work really good on cleaning it, and it'll do wonders for the plastic pieces. So let's go ahead and plug this in, and let's see what's going on with this thing. Now, also, it came with the original remote, which somebody left the batteries in the remote because there's a bunch of corrosion on the battery tabs, and so the remote's all corroded, and the remote's gonna have to be repaired. Not a big deal. And it did come with a manual, so it's cool that I get something with not only the remote, but to get the owner's manual is pretty cool. And I know that some of you guys have been asking if I will repair your Beta machines, and yes, I will. I used to, about a year ago, I had a few customers that shipped some machines to me, and we just worked out the pricing, used PayPal. Okay, well, got a clock display, and it's not dim. It's bright. It's not dim or anything. Okay, let's power it on. Oh, okay. Well, I know exactly what is wrong with this thing. Yeah, it's pretty common. No power light. No power. So the voltage regulator has failed on this. And I don't have any regulators in stock right now. So one of the things that I can do is I can get a used one out of one of my parts decks. So I can take a regulator. I think I've got a SL-HF550 that I just put a brand new regulator in it, and that one is actually gonna be a parts deck because it's got too many problems. So I'll pull the regulator out of that because that one is brand new, and we'll put it in this one. So that's this is where we're at on this. We can't go any further until we get a regulator. Now, one of the things that not only will you not get a power light, but if it happens to be a hi-fi stereo machine, your volume meters will not light up either, because you're only getting partial power. You're not getting full power to the machine. The mechanism is not getting power, and so that's why you can't get the tape out or anything. So what I'm thinking is that somebody probably was either watching a videotape when the regulator failed, or they were recording something off TV and the regulator failed. Sometimes what can cause these regulators to go out, sometimes if you get a power surge, it can cause it. Sometimes it was because they just get really hot and they just go out. A lot of times I've seen situations where there's no heatsink compound. So there's no grease to keep the chip cool. When the chip gets overheated, they'll burn out, and so they just go bad. And so that is the problem. So as you can see, you got no... Oh, hey, if we hit play, it actually tried to... I've never seen that before. Yeah, if we hit play, the play symbol will come on. Yeah, but that's definitely regulator. But we can get the tape out. Yeah, so obviously there's no power going to the solenoid or anything like that. So interesting. You can hit the play and the symbol will pop up on the machine. Look, hit play and it pops up. This thing did have a really neat display. The symbols and stuff were pretty cool. It does know that there's a tape inside. There's a little... Oh, did I hear something come on? Did I hear something try to come on? No. Yeah, nah. That regulator has failed. Yeah. So, with the regulator not working, you're definitely not going to get any functions out of it. So, but let's take the tape out. So we're going to take the screws off, and I'm going to unplug it, because no point in having it plugged in. So, there should be a screw on here. So it's just one screw on each side for this particular model. Now, the SL-HF550, the 550, and the 650 are the same machine. It's just that the one of them is newer than the other one. So, yeah, the 450 came out first, then the 550, and then the 650. And they all... This one actually is a nicer, more of the mid-model, mid-range. This one actually has 3 heads. This is a 3-head machine, so it has good pause, and it has frame by frame, and it does have slow motion. So it's got all the effects, neat trick effects, you know, that a beta could have. And you know, with the see-through window, that's pretty cool too. I like the fact that they allowed you to see your tape inside, and that allowed you to see what the tape was doing, whether it was playing or if it was rewinding. Or let's say you were recording something and you could look through the window and see that, oh, okay, I still have some tape left, so I can record this program. I can, you know, you can monitor it. I like that about this particular model. This model is one of the nicer ones. It's one that's kind of sought after. One of the really neat things about this one is this one will play back Beta 1S, and of course it'll play back the original Beta 1 as well, but it'll do Beta 1, Beta 1S, and if they play Beta 1S, they will also play Beta 1 SHB, which is super high band. So it will play those back, and I have a lot of tapes recorded in that mode, in that high band mode, so it's always nice to have a player that can play those back, because there were not a lot of models that would play back Beta 1S or Beta 1 high band. You know, it just not very many of them would do that, but this one will. And this is one of the most, it's right up there with the higher end stuff. This is actually right up there with the 900. Except this doesn't have the cool jog shuttle dial that the 900 had. But yeah, this is as close to a 900 as you're gonna get, because it has slow motion and frame by frame advanced. Pretty cool. So I guess we've talked enough, but we'll go ahead. This is gonna be a 3-day weekend for me, so we're gonna have some fun over the weekend. We've got this one. I just fixed the Sanyo, so stay tuned for that video, because we're gonna show you the video. I fixed that one had a voltage regulator problem as well, so I put a regulator in that one, got it working. I had to put a new idler tire in there. The belts are gonna need to be changed too. The guy I bought that thing from said that it had been in storage for 20 years, so he said he didn't have any tapes to test it, and so anyway, but let's digress here. I'm gonna show you how to get, I know that I've done a video on this showing you how to get your stuck beta tape out of the machine, but we'll show you once again. So we'll take that screw and put it over here so we don't lose it. And we'll show you how to get the tape out of one, because you might have a stuck tape. You know, maybe it's got a tape in that you don't want to part with. You know, maybe you're selling a beta machine for parts and your tape got stuck, and so you just wanted to sell it for parts. I'll show you how to get it out. Or maybe you've got a stuck beta tape that tape is very valuable to you and you need to get it out of the machine. This will be for you as well. We can get this tape out. So let's see what this mystery tape has. I'm seeing something, what did I see? Growing Pains? Yeah, that's cool. Growing Pains was a TV series that I grew up with back in the 80s. And that was a cool show. It's been a while since I opened one of these up. It's been a while since I had a 550. I've had 2 or 3, maybe 4 450s, and I've had a 650. I don't know if I've had any of the 550. I mean, they're the same machine, but so in order to get your tape out, you want to turn this, and we're just gonna turn it that way, okay? And this is going to retract. The tape guide is going to go back into its home position. The tape goes in, and then it switches to the other gear. It's got 2 different gears in here, and this pendulum gear here, this will go one direction or the other. So, like, when the tape goes in, and then the solenoid activates, and this pendulum gear will change to the next set of gears, and then it will thread your tape. So we're going to continue to just unthread it here. Looks like this has been sitting in somebody's storage or sitting in somebody's closet, and they probably donated it to the Goodwill or something, or to some thrift store, and somebody bought it for probably $10 or something and put it on eBay, because beta machines do go for a good amount of money. At least good ones do. So now that we've unthreaded so we've got the tape guide unthreaded. So now what we'll have to do is you want to push this pendulum gear, push it in, and as you can see, it's now going to activate this set of gears. And then you can use your other hand to, or I can do it one-handed. So we'll move the belt, just move your belt, and it'll lift your cassette. And it will come out, or it should. I'm gonna need 2 hands, but yeah. So you just hold it over to that side, and then your other hand, you'll wanna move the belt. That way you can, and as you can see, it's starting to lift up. So it's only lifting up one side. So this thing has another fault. So it looks like it's got a bad gear in the cassette housing, because I'm going to have to actually help it up. I'm going to have to lift up the one side in order to help it and get it out. So I'm going to need 2 hands, but yeah. Okay, well, we got the tape out, but normally what happens is that this solenoid here activates, and when the solenoid pushes in, and it, as you can see, when you push the solenoid in, this arm here is switching back and forth between the two gears. So one side does the tape insertion, and then it kicks on to the other side, and then it threads the tape around the head drum. So that's how this chassis works. So this plunger pushes in and allows the tape to go in, then it goes that way, and then it threads, you know. So yeah, it's actually pretty simple mechanism, and sometimes these solenoids will actually go bad. The solenoids actually, sometimes if they get too hot, they'll burn out. But the solenoids do go out on these. I think the solenoid is probably a lot better system than with VHS's mode encoder switch, because the mode switches have more problems than the solenoids do. Sony used a solenoid to activate, to do the loading procedures, and I prefer the solenoid over the rotary encoder switch. But on the B3, 711 B3, they used a rotary encoder switch, and they got rid of the solenoid. But I think the solenoid was a little bit more reliable. And the problem with the rotary encode switch for the 711 B3 was that it was a completely sealed unit, so there's no way to clean them. You can't clean them. So you have to basically just replace them if they go bad or they get dirty. You can put a little bit of cleaner in between the gap, but and hope that it gets inside there to clean the contacts. But yeah, it's a sealed thing, and but yeah. And somebody commented that the 711 B3 was quieter. Yes, that is true. It is a quieter mechanism, but I think that the plunger system, the solenoid, was a little bit more reliable than the rotary encoder switch that was used in the last generation, the last betas. This is the 711 B2. So they have the 711 B, the B2, and the B3. So, and this is the B2 because it doesn't have the, on the original 711B, they had a belt tensioner on there, and this is a little bit more newer. My SL-HF550 has the B2 mechanism. So basically, the only real difference is the fact that B1 only had the belt tensioner, and the B2 did not. That's really the only difference. But with the B3, they got rid of the solenoid and went with the rotary encoder switch. So, anyway, but, so, yeah, the cassette housing here is definitely messed up. And, this belt is actually popped off. This belt has popped out of its groove several times. So, let's just see if we can get... Yeah, there we go. So if we go the other way, that's going to eject it. But as you can see, it's not even lifting. It's only lifting up one of the sides. So this side's not lifting up at all, and it's actually out of its, it's popped out of place. You can see that there's this basket has little nipples at the end, and this plastic piece here, you can see the nipple that's sticking out. It goes inside this white gear here, and I think this nipple has sheared off on the other side, and so it's not lifting it up. And also it could be off of its track as well. It could very well be off the track. A lot of times they will go out of off the groove if they've got mechanical problems, which this one does. And the door actually popped off as well. So, but anyway, we're going to have to address the power supply. We'll get the regulator in there. Then we'll have to take the cassette housing apart and see what's going on. But I bet you the nipple has sheared off, and so because these white gears, this white gear is what lowers and raises the basket. So if the nipple gets broke off, which they seldom do, a lot of times they will do that. That nipple will break, or there's a white gear inside the mechanism here that gets a crack in it, and it cracks and it splits. So that gear could be broken as well. But as you can see, that the one side is working and the other side's not. So it's not doing anything at all. So it's more than likely it might be that nipple is sheared off. But I don't see... Okay, the nipple is there. It's kind of hard to see, but the nipple does seem to be there. See if we can get my... So it's probably just a broken plastic gear. Probably got a crack in it. But you can see that the nipple, I don't know if this is going to show on camera, but the nipple's there. See, the nipple is there. See that? I move that up and down. So the nipple is there, so it's gotta probably popped out of its track. They tend to pop out of the track if the plastic gear has a crack in it. So, I mean, yeah, this cassette housing is repairable. The only way you're gonna get a part for these cassette housings is by getting another machine and picking the parts off of it. And the B1 and the B2 are a little bit different. The cassette housings are a little different as far as the gears. So there is some changes with the B2. The B2, like I said, the B2 doesn't have the belt tensioner, but there is a little bit of a difference in the cassette housing as well. And the gears are a little bit different, but this is definitely, this is the B2. But anyway, this has got my SL-HF550 has the B2 in it. So, but these are actually really nice machines, and I really like these machines. But yeah, so if we can get this cassette housing, see, there we go, we got it to lift up. I was able to get it to lift up, so let's just, I forget what way to go. It's like one way or the other. There you go. Nope, No, I don't want to do that. I have to go the other way. And that'll allow the basket to go back into its home position. See, now it's in its home position. This tab right here, when you put the tape in, the tab releases and then the cassette basket will go in. But yeah, this one has a problem, and as you can see, the door actually popped off on the one side here. So the door is now not in its right place. But yeah, this has got a pretty cool system in operation, you know. When you press the power, the solenoid gets activated. You put a tape in, and then the solenoid switches to the other side, and then it threads around the drum, and that's how it's operating. It's pretty cool. So we'll show you the mechanism when we get this thing fixed and get this thing up and going again. We'll show you how the mechanism works. But I have done videos on how the mechanism works, but I think maybe it's time for a refresher course, you know, and we'll show you how this mechanism works. But it's pretty cool. It is a neat mechanism. It's not one that was liked. A lot of people didn't like the 711 chassis. I myself actually prefer the 710. The 710 was the SL-5000 series. The 710 had a 3-piece drum, and it was a lot better quality. The picture quality on those were slightly better than the 711. So I'd say the 710 was probably the most reliable of the mechanisms, and it was the best. Probably one of the best ones was the 710. The 711 was okay, but it did have its problems. Now the 711D, which was, now the 711D was the SL-2500 and the 2700, and the SL-2000 portable unit. You know, that one. But yeah, I think, you know, the 710 was probably the best one that was ever made. Anyway, now that I bored you with all my ranting and raving, and I tend to talk too much, but they put this clip on here to keep the belt from popping off, because they did have a problem with these belts coming off, and that's why they had the belt tensioner there to kind of help keep that from happening. And then they got away from the belt tensioner and just went with this design, and they just had this plastic cap that snapped in place and keeps the belt from flying off. But still doesn't really do anything for over here, because sometimes the belt, as you've seen, the belt comes off of here if there's a problem with the cassette housing. But we've got a power supply fault and a cassette housing problem. So we've got an electrical issue and we've got a mechanical issue that we're going to need to address. So here's the tape that came out, and this is an L750, and this was definitely in a smoker's home. Look at all that yellow these reels are not supposed to be yellow. These tape reels are supposed to be white. They're yellow, so this was definitely in a smoker's home. Or at least the tape came from a smoker's home. I don't know if the VCR necessarily came from a smoker's home. And hey, look at that. The record tab is not punched. So that means you could accidentally record over this thing. I want to see what's on this tape. I want to know what's on this tape. So we'll do that in another video. We'll play the mystery tape is what we're going to call this. This is going to be the mystery tape. So we'll find out what's on this in another video. We'll kind of do a little bit of an exploring and see. But it looks like it's got TV shows on it. That means it's probably going to have commercials. And it looks like they even marked on how many minutes there were for that specific program. But this has probably been recorded in Beta 3. I'm guessing that this is probably Beta 3 recording. And the Beta 3 was used because it would give you the most recording time, but if you wanted the best quality, you'd have to use Beta 2. Now, Beta 1 had a better quality than Beta 2, but Beta 2 became the new standard, and they kind of didn't let you use Beta 1 anymore. Yeah, Beta 1 was the best, but Beta 2 was the best that you're going to get, you know. So a lot of times with people that would record movies and stuff, they would record in Beta 3 because they can get like 2 movies on an L750. L750 was one of the most widely used, commonly used tapes. Tape length. It's got 750 feet of tape inside. So that's a lot of tape inside of a small cassette like this. That's a lot of tape. But yeah, we'll find out what's on this too. But at least we know what's going on with this. We know what's wrong with it. Now we just gotta fix it. And we'll fix it. We'll get this thing up and going again. We'll put the door back in place. And we'll fix the broken gear that's in there. It's probably got just a broken gear that needs to be replaced. And that will fix the cassette basket. Or I might just swap out the cassette basket for another one and eliminate the problem altogether. But maybe we'll do another video, a separate video on how to repair the cassette housing itself, because I do a lot of replacing if I can. If I can just replace it with a known good part, I'll just do that. You know, rather than spending 1 to 2 hours fixing the cassette housing, I just swap it with another one. But for video purposes, for training purposes, we'll probably do a video on how to repair the cassette housing instead of just replacing it. We'll just show you how to fix it. But yeah, so 2 faults, 1 electrical, 1 mechanical. So for now, we're going to end it and just kind of give you a quick look as to what this VCR looks like and some of its functions. You can see you got the frame by frame, and you've got your slow motion, you've got your 1/10 and the 1/5. You've got your volume meters. These are your control, so this will actually increase the volume of the input. So the input volume that's coming into the machine, you can adjust these to give a little bit more volume if you want. Or, I mean, typically I keep them right dead center in the middle is where you want them, because if you move them too far and it starts to redline, and when your red VU meters are showing, that means you're going to get distortion on your tape. So you want to keep these. I typically will not go any more than about 6 or a 7. Any more than that, you'll get distortion on your audio if you have it too loud. So the red VU meters is not something you want to see when you're recording. So anyway, but yeah, this is a nice little unit. It's got a lot of features. It's got some bells and whistles and all kinds of neat stuff. And this is going to be a fun project, I can tell. And you know, with that really cool see-through window, and we'll do a little exploring on this. But yeah, this has got yeah, usually the head amplifiers are usually encased in a steel, they're inside of a metal box usually. This one just has a little tiny shield plate up over here. Love mellow yellow. Mellow yellow beats Mountain Dew. Mellow yellow tastes better than Mountain Dew. I know you got your Mountain Dew favorite, you know, these you guys out there that love Mountain Dew. Well, I love Mellow Yellow. I used to drink Mountain Dew all the time, but when I started drinking Mellow Yellow, the taste is so much better. But anyway, that's it. This is a little teaser video as to what to expect or what's coming up. So this one will be, we'll get this one fixed, and this has got some pretty common problems. I mean, these problems I see all the time. The regulator is one of them. The cassette housing is another problem. Another common fault is the gear in the clutch. This is basically a clutch type system, but there's plastic gear that breaks on these, which can cause the machine to the gear basically just free spins and doesn't thread the tape. It doesn't do anything. It just free spins. That's another common fault with these mid-80s Beta machines. Well, yeah, you got your regulator, your cassette housing, the solenoids have trouble. The plastic gear on these break inside of this clutch mechanism here, and those are pretty common. Another common problem is the Hall effect device will go out, causing the head drum not to spin, or causing the tape reels not to turn. That's also another problem that these have. And they're pretty common problems, and they're easy to repair. These are not hard to repair, but you do need to have the ability to solder stuff in. You need to be able to solder new components in order to make some of these repairs. Like you gotta have, you know, you gotta be good with a soldering iron in order to repair the regulator. And when you're putting a voltage regulator in, when you're soldering it in, what you'll want to do is you'll want to do one pin and then go to the opposite side and solder that pin in, because you want to eliminate as much heat as possible. You don't want to put a lot of heat into the regulator, so you don't want to go pin 1 and then pin 2, because you're going to put a lot of heat on that area. So I always recommend putting a pin 1 in and then maybe pin 12. You know, just kind of alternate between, you know, sides, just to, you know, so you don't get a lot of heat, because heat will destroy the regulator. And but anyway, you can see how much dust is in this thing. I mean, there's a lot of dust. Look at that. That is a lot of dust and dirt. So yeah, we're gonna have fun with this one. This is so the regulator is STK5441, and this black chip right here that my finger is touching, this black chip is the one that you want to replace. This little chip right here. So that's the regulator. That's what fails on these, and I do have some heatsink compound left, because I'm going to need heatsink compound. I have found situations where the like Sony didn't even put any heatsink compound on there, and so the chip just gets hot. I mean, it needs to have grease to keep the heat from being located in one area. It needs to be distributed, you know, it needs to be, you know, cooled down. And the heatsink compound helps cool the chip. And, you know, it needs more than just slapped up against a piece of aluminum, you know. They need to have the heatsink compound in there. So when you change it out, we're going to change it out. We're going to put heatsink compound in there, and that will keep the regulator from going out again. Now, one of the problems is that some of these regulators that you can buy online some of them are made in China. And you gotta be real careful, because you can end up buying a bad chip. I actually bought a bad regulator for my Sanyo there. I put the regulator in, and it did not work at all. It didn't even have, the clock didn't even show up. Like, the clock didn't illuminate or nothing. That chip was completely bad. And so I ordered another one, and finally number 2 actually worked. So there are some times where you can buy bad regulators. Some of them are made in China, and China doesn't have quality control. They don't have pride in what they do. Japanese people do. The Japanese people have pride in what they do. They not only want to do a good job, but they want to give you a quality product. If you can't get something made in the US, at least get something made in Japan. Because if it's made in the US or if it's made in Japan, it's going to be good. You know, because people care. The quality control is there. So just be careful, because sometimes you can get a hold of a bad regulator, and there's really no way to know until you get that regulator soldered in. And you know, if the problem is still there, then the regulator, you know, it's not working. So But yeah, I have bought bad regulators. I had a YouTuber who asked me, said, you know, I put the regulator in and it still doesn't work. And I said, well, you might have gotten a bad regulator. And I don't think he believed me. But that is the case sometimes. Anyway. Well, this video has went on way too long. I've babbled way too long. And we're going to end it. So we'll see you later. Bye-bye.